Hi everybody, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Lauren, and today I want to share 5 things to keep in mind for your first year of homeschooling. This will actually be our 4th year homeschooling, and I know in the grand scheme of things that is not very long at all, but I did just think back on of my first year and think, what would I want to know and like to be prepared for going into my first year of homeschooling. So today I wanted to share 5 tips, 5 things that you can think about for and just have in the back of your mind for when you go into homeschool. This is just stuff that I wish I would have known going into it my first year so that I would have been a little bit better equipped. As much research as I did on curriculum, I didn't ever really look into like the tips and tricks of like what to actually expect your first year of homeschooling.
Hey everybody, so I had already completely edited this video and was ready to upload it. But here's the thing with YouTube, not just my channel, across YouTube channels in general, people click out of videos. So with that in mind, I thought, you know what, if people are only gonna hear one of my points, I wanted to actually be my last point. And so instead of re-filming the whole thing, I don't have time for that. So I switched things around. So my first point, you're going to hear me say, and lastly, and that's the reason why, and I know continuity, it's not going to really flow very well, but I honestly thought it was more important to put that tip first than to just continue with it how it was, just to make it flow better. Now I feel like now that I hyped it all up, you're gonna be like, that was it, really? Without further ado, let's get on to the video.
And lastly, this isn't something that you should expect your first year, but it is a tip, hopefully, that you can remember your first year. And that is, try to have fun. Oh man, I sometimes am like so not good at having fun, but try to do that and try to remember the privilege that you get to be with your children and to see them and spend that time with them in these critical years, these fundamental years, these foundational years that you get to be with them every single day. And that, I know to a lot of people sounds like, oh, you have to be with your kids every day, all day. When people get like grossed out by being with the thought of being with their kids all day, every day. Actually, that breaks my heart when I hear that. I like hate to hear that. Have fun. I know that especially if you are the type of personality who just is a little bit rigid and just like high stress like me, it can be hard to do that, but just remind yourself, and I know you've probably heard it from other homeschooling moms, and you probably told yourself that, but sometimes we just need to hear it again, and I'm speaking to myself as well. Cherish those moments, cherish those little nuggets of times when they say something funny or do something silly or whatever it may be. Just don't take everything so seriously. And if you are the type of mom and that comes naturally to you, that's truly a blessing and a gift, and you should be grateful for that and really like own that and just take ownership of that, because sometimes it doesn't come easy to all of us, and it's something that a lot of people struggle with. Just keep in mind, it's a privilege of what we get to do. It's not something that we have to do. It's not an obligation. It's a privilege, and it's something that we get to do. We get to be with these kids. We get to educate them. We get to be there for all of it, all the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. And it's not always rainbows and sunshine and flowers. I totally understand that, but there needs to be times where we can just step back and say, wait a second, like, what is the big picture here? The big picture is that we are getting precious time with these kids to raise them, and we are their biggest influence in their life, not anybody else. We get to have that, and that is an amazing, amazing opportunity. So keep that in mind. Lauren, preaching to myself too. Number 1, I hate to even say it. I hate to even say it, to be the bearer of bad news, but that curriculum that is the perfect and best curriculum out there, you found it. You're so lucky. Like, you found the best thing out there, and it's gonna work for all of your children. and you are ordering it, you're dreaming about it. It's the holy grail of curriculum. You're stocking the FedEx truck. You're, you know, checking your updates for the tracking on your phone every 5 minutes to see where's my package, and it finally arrives, and it's just like Christmas. I may or may not have been there at some point in my life, and actually, to be honest, I still am. It's not just first time, it's, you know, I still am there too. But seriously though, the amazing curriculum that you have, it may not be what you're going to use forever, and that may seem like no, but you don't understand. I found it. Trust me, I've been there, and I found what was perfect and the best, most amazing curriculum, and it just, for one reason or another, it didn't work for us, or it worked for a season of time and it was perfect for when we needed it, but it was not something that we needed to continue for our entire school career. So just keep that in mind. This curriculum, it may seem like amazing and the best thing out there, and it's just going to be like the pivotal part of your homeschooling you know, journey, career, and it may be, and you may be one of the very few lucky ones, like very few, who that first year they find their curriculum that works for them and happens to actually work for all of their children for years to come, and it just works for them and they can use it and it's fine. But chances are greater than not, you're probably going to end up changing at least one or two things throughout the years. And it may be something that you think is amazing and it works for a time period and it's not going to work later on, or you find out right off the gate, you know what, this is not what I thought it was. So just be prepared for that. And I hope it doesn't. I hope, you know, what you choose and spend your hard-earned money on like works the whole year and it is something that you can stick with and love. I absolutely do, but just have that in the back of your mind. It may not, and that's okay. Very, very, very few people find what they're looking for the first year and stick with that for the rest of their life, their you know, their homeschool life. We switch around, we change things up, and it's okay if you have to. Speaking of changes, that brings me to point number 2. You are going to make changes throughout the year, and that's just part of it. You may say, okay, when, you know, August 1st comes or September 1st, first day of school, this is what our schedule is gonna look like, this is what our days are going to look like, and this is how it's going to be. Chances are greater than not, again, I can't say everything is 100% foolproof, but I'll put it this way, I have yet to meet any homeschooler who has stuck with the same schedule from the first day of their homeschooling forever. And even the most rigid, structured mom is still going to need a little bit of flexibility. And that's just because not only our kids are changing, but it's a brand new journey. Just remember to be flexible, to have flexibility in, you know, on the back burner. Especially if you're somebody who needs a lot of structure, just keep that in mind. It's okay, like if I have to change things up and if it's not working, don't try to keep, you know, cramming that square peg into that round hole. It's okay. Like even homeschoolers who've been doing this for years are always still changing, even not from year to year, but like from season to season. I mean, like sometimes months to months are changing, and that's fine. Like just be prepared that what you might have on paper is going to probably change. So whether it is schedule, curriculum, location of like where you physically homeschool, you might change rooms. Could be any number of things that actually change within that school year. Quick story time. The first year we homeschooled, I had my little routine in place and it was working well for us. And I get a call from my husband, he's at work. Hey Lauren, by the way, I think I broke my ankle, but it's okay, I'm okay. And I was like, what? You broke your ankle? Yeah, you know, and he sounded totally fine. So I went to the hospital. He even tells me, I don't know, it may be just sprain. I think he was trying to like make sure I was calm. I got to the hospital. He needed surgery. He completely shredded his ankle. The surgeon, experienced surgeon of like 30 years, said, yeah, this is one of the worst breaks that you could possibly have. It was a 9 out of 10. If it was any worse, your bone would be popping out through the skin. So that happened our first year. He was home So I was, you know, taking care of a husband who couldn't walk, and a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 6-year-old. That was fun. I hope none of that happens to you, but you just never know what's gonna happen. So be prepared. Something will change. Day 1 will not look like day, you know, 180 or whenever you finish your school. Third kind of goes along with second, and that is it's going to take time to get things into a good place where you feel like things are going smoothly. And that just may be several things. First of all, if it is your first year, it is just going to take that first year of, like, you know, bumping out the kinks. No, that's not it. Roughing out the kinks? No. Ironing out the kinks? Ironing. It's gonna take that first year of, like, ironing out the kinks and just everybody getting used to homeschooling. It's going to take that first year. I think you truly do need 1 full year under your belt before you can be like, okay, I kind of got an idea of what's going. And that doesn't mean it's not going to change from year to year, because it will. Every single year will change, but it takes that first year, I think, to kind of sort of get your grounding and get your footing and get your foundation, and to get things in place. And a couple things may change. If you have small children and small, like even up to 2-3 years old, it's just going to be harder. It really is. I hate to say it to you, it's just going to be harder to homeschool with those ages. It doesn't mean it's impossible. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It doesn't mean you still can't have fun and not enjoy it. Like, I don't want to sound like Debbie Downer. It's just going to be a little bit harder. My first year homeschooling, my daughter, she's 4 now, but she was only, wait, how old was she? She had just turned 2. She cried the entire time we homeschooled. It was almost like she knew, like, oh, you're homeschooling? Gotta turn on the, you know, turn on my crying button right now. And she cried the whole time we would do school, for the whole time, for the first like 3 or 4 months, every day. I had to figure out what can I do with her. And finally, eventually we kind of got into a nice groove of things in it, and it worked out. There was many distractions, but we were at least able to get a little bit of the crying under control. But that was definitely not something I was anticipating, because she was a pretty easygoing child. But as soon as school came, she was like, we're not having that. So she did everything in her little 2-year-old power to sabotage our days. But anyway, it all worked out. It's going to take time to get things into place. And just remember, this first year, I don't mean the first week of school or the first month. I mean the first year of school. It's going to take that year to kind of get your bearings and really get a good feel for how it's going to go. Number 4, you are going to feel overwhelmed at times. Now, there's all types of personalities out there, from the most strict and rigid all the way to the most laid back and go with the flow, and everything in between. And every single homeschooling mom at one point or another has felt overwhelmed. It does not matter how good your children are, how well behaved they are, what age they are, even if they're like teenagers and don't really give you a hard time. I don't know, I can't really say because I don't have teenagers, but even if your kids are normally very well behaved and you have it all figured out and all the plans and everything, you will feel overwhelmed at times. And that's okay. Like, we've all been there. I still feel overwhelmed at times, and even moms who've been homeschooling for years can still feel that way. It doesn't mean there's something wrong, or that you're not meant to homeschool, or that you can't do it, or that you're ill-equipped, or that your kids would be better off in a public school or a private school or not with you all the time. That doesn't mean any of that. It just means you're human. We're all human. We all have our bad days. We all get overwhelmed, and it's gonna happen. And it may not happen very often. It may not be something that you run into on a daily basis. Hopefully it's not, but it will happen, and it's okay. And like, when those things happen, those times happen that you are feeling overwhelmed and all of those thoughts come into your mind, just take a step back, take a few deep breaths, remember why you're homeschooling to begin with, and it will really help when you're feeling overwhelmed. Or change. Another thing you could do is like change scenery. Oh man, I need to give myself that advice, yeah, a lot more often. change scenery. Like say, you know, we get so caught up in like, we have to finish this subject and this book and this lesson on this day. And it doesn't mean you can't come back to it in an hour, but sometimes it's like, you know what, let's just take 5 minutes and do some stretches and breathing, or go outside for 5 minutes, or get a snack, get some coffee, whatever it may be. Change the scenery up a little bit, and that really does help with overwhelm. Remember, when you're overwhelmed, you're not alone, you're not alone, you're not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken, you're not deficient, you are perfect for your children. You're the perfect mom for your kids, and it's okay to feel overwhelmed. That actually is a good thing. That means like you care so much, and you put your heart into it, and you put your energy into it, that you care. And so sometimes when things are coming at you, to feel overwhelmed is actually, I feel like, a good sign sometimes. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it, truly. And if this is going to be your first year, let me know in the comments what you are most either nervous about or excited about. And if you have homeschooled before and you've not been around the block, done this before, leave a comment below, for an encouragement to those new homeschoolers. Remember how you felt when you were first starting off, and all the emotions that you felt, from excitement to nervousness and everything in between. And let us know what tip you would give to somebody who is homeschooling for the first time. I hope you found this video to be helpful. If so, make sure you hit the like button so that I know that you find these videos to be of use and of value. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video.